I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus I was evil. I never shook baby.
Oh no. We are
Oh no.
So
Episode
episode 102.
102.
Yeah. So I just found out Ben's into girls, which is news to me. I thought,
I tried to hide it from you.
yeah, I don't care. It doesn't bother me, but I guess you're into girls.
Yeah,
the
I'm
TV
into
show, of
girls.
course.
Yeah. All right, you took my punchline. But yes, yeah, we're gonna talk about a show that ended like 8 years ago or something because
Yeah.
we're very topical on this show.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about that psychopath who's running for president, Nikki Haley.
Yes.
So I actually always liked the show Girls going back to when I first watched it, probably. I don't know if I was watching it live. I can't remember. I might have been. I think I watched maybe like the last 2-3 seasons live. It's like Girls takes place in that time that was like late 2000s, kind of like the doldrums of the Obama administration. It's a very pre-Trump show.
Yeah.
Like Trump's not mentioned at all. I think it ended in 2015. So like it wasn't tainted by that like insanity that happened. Right. And I can only imagine the episodes being extremely cringe. If it did, it is a bunch of it's typical in the sense that it's a bunch of white they actually are a little older in this, maybe like late 20s. No, I guess that's the same thing. Yeah. In fact, they're actually probably younger than a lot of the sitcoms, but it's basically a bunch of like white late 20 somethings to early 30 somethings living in New York City, which is a pretty good formula for TV. This obviously an HBO show, not a sitcom. I have actually always liked this show for a number of reasons. One is I find it very entertaining. I think when you realize that you're not supposed to really like the characters, kind of like an Always Sunny thing, where Always Sunny, let me rephrase that. You like the Always Sunny characters, but they're not supposed to be like emulated.
Right.
Like they're supposed to be bad people.
Yeah.
Not supposed to do what they do. It's kind of the same with Girls. Like you're not really supposed to sympathize with the characters all that much or all the time. And this isn't just like my analysis. This is Lena Dunham has said this. Like parts of it are satirical.
Yeah.
And I, as kind of moist cringe as Lena Dunham can be online, which I think she's really been quiet. I feel like the past several years.
Yeah, thankfully.
Thankfully. I actually think she's. I saw one of her like first movies. I think she's a good writer and a good artist. I know that might be surprising to hear, but I do like her work. I think this show, it addresses a lot of, like I said, it's like it's like pre-Trump, pre-Me Too, even pre-Greater, like it's all of that stuff, which is very interesting to look back on. It was like even what I bring up this show when we talk about crime, or like when I talk about crime with my fiance in New York, like there's a scene in this show where I think it's Marnie, like a couple. Yeah, it's Marnie and I think Charlie, they get mugged at gunpoint, and they're kind of like, are you serious? Like it's so surprising to them to get mugged.
Yeah.
Because that was the time where probably New York was at its safest. Like people don't realize New York City at one point was like considered it was considered extremely dangerous for decades. Then it was considered extremely safe for a city of its size.
Yeah.
And an American city, which just tend to be more dangerous than like European cities and a lot of Asian cities.
Nice.
But like no, like New York was actually considered super safe until the progressives kind of went nuts until COVID and the lockdowns and the whatever you want to call it, restorative justice, criminal justice reform, that bullshit that annihilated the city. There was a point where New York was considered very safe, and this was kind of that point. So I say all of that to say that I rewatched Girls because I always like to, as much as I watch movies, we watch a ton of movies. I like to have like one kind of, I guess you call it prestige TV drama, like just a good show to go to sometimes. like I did. I'm doing Boardwalk Empire with my fiance. I did Sopranos over the summer with her. We did Girls, a show I always liked, but I had forgotten a lot of it. And this, after watching it this time, I think the last time I watched it, I was in that phase of my life where I was like extremely liberal. Like I probably did agree with them a lot more on the political stuff that doesn't come up all that much, but it was more sympathetic, where this time I'm not. And I found the show just as enjoyable, if not more. And I had a string of tweets and an analysis that this is actually a very conservative show. So I say all of that to say that Girls is not purposefully, but for America in the 2010s, a very conservative TV show.
Explain.
Okay, all right. It's just so funny. You should ask, Joe. You might think that this is a show where it's all as it says, it's girls, women, but those are the main characters. I've always said the guys are the best parts of the show. Adam Driver, who plays a character named Adam, is great. Charlie is in it in the first season, or maybe two, and then he has like one episode where he comes back. I like that actor a lot. He's actually the actor from Possessor. His last name is Abbott. I have Christopher Abbott, maybe. I really like him, and he was really good in Possessor. He's in the show for a little. Ray is amazing. I forget his real name, but he's great in it. My fiance says that I resemble Ray in some ways in terms of attitude and just my kind of demeanor, complaining about everything.
I can see it. I don't know this character, but I can see that. I can see.
Yeah, he gets so mad about the traffic on the street that he runs for office, like that kind of shit, and wins. But I actually like, and the girl you kind of dislike. All the girls, the four main girls, Marnie, Hannah, Jessa, and Shoshana, are unlikable to an extent. I think Shoshana is the most likable. But I found them. I really enjoyed their characters even more on this watch. I just think it's a really smart show. I think it was very, I like shows that kind of showcase a time period. Like Seinfeld was the 90s. Like it was basically like a little in 89 to like 98. I like shows that do that because it's fun to kind of have that snapshot. I think Girls was the first half of the 2010s, like firmly a show of the first half of the 2010s. Not to everyone. It's a bunch of like almost all straight white people in Brooklyn. There's one great character, Elijah, who's gay. He's actually like a great Broadway actor. He was in Book of Mormon. He's a hilarious character. He's gay, but besides that, so it's not everyone, but it doesn't have full representation. But if they made Girls today, it would be like one's non-binary, one's indigenous, definitely neurodivergent, neurodivergent. But
well, didn't Lena Dunham didn't she catch flack for that? Where it was, I think if I remember correctly, it was towards like the last couple of seasons. So we are starting to kind of go full woke culture wise. And then so she was criticized because her show mostly had just straight white girls. And then she goes, oh, well, we didn't want to put a black or a person of color in there to make it seem tokenized. And then when they did in response, then they got accused of tokenizing.
I don't remember. She dates a black guy for like one episode or two. It's Childish Gambino. I forget his real name. And he's a Republican, and that's like the tension is that she can't date her, and she starts doing that thing where it's like telling him about the injustices. He's like, you understand? Like, I'm a black man. Like, you don't have to tell me. And it's actually very funny, and it's kind of ripping on white liberal women who do that. He's like, you're not going to tell me what it's like to be black in America. I am black in America, and these are my values, and I'm a Republican. So I find the show to be just a nice snapshot of, and I am a sucker. I'm a sucker for the 20-somethings in New York City, even though I never lived that, not fully. I'm a sucker for that setting. I don't know who's they put out. So to answer your question, I don't know if she caught flack. It wouldn't surprise me at all if like a Jezebel or a BuzzFeed article wrote that about her. My argument's always like, I don't know. A lot of friend groups are people who are either grew up together, and that we tend to still be a fairly segregated society in terms of just like where people live. There's a reason immigrant groups move to where there are other immigrants. It's not surprised that there are a lot of Norwegians in Minnesota and Italians in New Jersey and Mexicans in Texas. It's just where people move to. And then people tend to have friends of those same groups or not. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they live in very diverse places and their friends groups are more diverse. I don't fucking know. Also, a lot of times, especially in New York City and LA, where people come from all over, you tend to honestly, like my friends who do live in New York, their friends are like usually half childhood friends and college friends and then half like work friends.
Right.
So, and those groups, and I don't know, if you're in a tech sector where it's a lot of Asian men, you're probably going to have a lot of Asian men who you're friends with. That's just natural. But anyway.
But I do actually, I pulled up the real quick, her response to the criticism of the lack of diversity. I wouldn't do another show that starred 4 white girls, Dunham said. When I wrote the pilot, I was 23. I was not trying to write the experience of somebody I didn't know and not trying to stick a black girl in without understanding the nuance of what her experience of hipster Brooklyn was.
Yeah, so that's one of those, it's a catch-22. This argument comes up all the time. And the answer to her issue, I'm being dead serious here. The answer to her issue that is expected of her, not what I think she should do. What's expected of her is don't make the show, leave the space for someone else, a woman of color. Like that's as batshit as that is. That's the correct answer to that view. Because if you say, well, if you're a straight white woman and you write, black lesbian characters, you're wrong because it's not your story to tell. And if you don't, then you're wrong for not including you can't win. So that's why you just be true to yourself and write exactly what you want, make exactly what you want if you're given the opportunity, and then let the consumer decide.
Exactly.
That's why there's critic. That's why on Rotten Tomatoes there's critic scores and there's the audience scores. That's why really popular shit might make you a lot of money, but it might not be like artistically, like adulatory, or it is. And if you can strike that balance, that's great. But you can't basically let these people. What was that article in?
That was an IndieWire.
Yeah, shocking. So you can't let them dictate it, because so what I said, how that show would probably look nowadays, that show would also not be created by Lena Dunham, let's just say. So anyway, I thought, last thing I'll say until I get into why I think it's a conservative show overall. I remember her getting in quote unquote trouble or canceled or whatever because she was on a tear about a black guy. I forget who it was. Was it like Odell Beckham Jr.? Yeah, it was, right?
Yeah.
And how she was saying something, how he didn't really give her the time of day, and then it turned into white women. I might be totally botching this, but white women, using their femininity and being white to attack male black bodies or something. Am I in the right ballpark here?
Yeah, she was bothered that I remember part of her quote was something like, "Oh, he just looked at me like I was just a piece of meat. I was just this thing."
Right. Yeah. It's just sort of and then it's well, you're basically creating Birth of a Nation with that tweet.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, she was just so bothered that this attractive black man didn't pay much attention to her, and it was just sort of
I'm gonna say something else here.
Yeah.
And I mean this. In the first season, Lena Dunham's kind of cute. She's not hot. I wouldn't say she's really attractive, but she's a cute woman.
Yeah.
Not by the end.
I know. Yeah. I know.
and I was surprised watching. I was like, oh, she's cute.
Yeah.
She's kind of fucking annoying sometimes, but that's also her character.
Right. Right.
Her character, she sums it up perfectly. And I think people take this literally when I think it's the first scene of a new season, maybe season 5 or 6. She's getting a job at a publication and she's at the interview and she says to the interviewer, I don't give a shit about anything, but I have an opinion about everything. And but that's her character. And people hear that and they recoil. It's oh my God, it's so millennial bullshit. It's yes, but I don't think you're supposed to hear that and go yes, queen. I think you're supposed to hear that. And it's criticizing that.
Right.
At least that's how I take it.
I wonder if there were millennials who watched and did think,
100%.
Yes, queen.
100%. Yeah. So, okay. My conservative retrospective. On why, and I tweeted them. So I put girls is actually trad. I mean, I'm obviously saying that to be a little provocative. I'd say it's more girls is actually conservative. Here's why. So, and by the way, there's tons of spoilers. The show ended 8 years ago. So if you don't want the show spoiled, then don't listen. But that's your fault. So One, although Hannah gets pregnant out of wedlock after a one-night stand, so it's not very conservative, she doesn't get an abortion. Like right there, if this show was made today, she wouldn't have gotten an abortion. It wouldn't have been even a hard decision.
Right,
and this is Lena Dunham, who I think she's the one who popularized "Shout Your Abortion,"
Probably,
right? Or like one of them. So the fact that she has a one-night stand, it's not like she gets pregnant from her boyfriend or even someone she's seeing, like a one-night stand with a guy at a surf camp on Long Island. She has the baby, and let's just say she's not really like financially stable. Like she's okay at this point, but it's not like she doesn't have a lot of family help. Her family lives in Michigan, or her gay dad is kind of like in New York somewhat. That's a funny part of the story, but of the show. But no, like she would be raising this on her own, more or less. So that's one, and that's just like the biggest one right there. Hannah also leaves the city, which she criticizes after watching a man shit on the street to create stability for her budding family. So if that show was made today, they would not be criticizing a homeless man for shitting on the street. And she goes on like a tirade about how all the times that she would see shit on the street, it was probably half of that was human shit. Like that would not happen today. That like a liberal in Brooklyn would not be criticizing that today. They would start talking about systematic this and
unhoused,
history that. But like she's saying it's a disgusting place to raise a child, which it is. 3, Jessa. So Jessa's plot shows that random hookups with strangers, sometimes in public, is painful and unfulfilling. The penultimate episode with Jessa is her walking into a bar during the day. There's one guy sitting at the bar. She gives him the eyes to follow her in the bathroom, and they start hooking up. She has no idea who this guy is, and she's like crying over his shoulder while he fucks her, like or whatever, when he's kissing her breasts and all that, and assuming that he fucks her. Like so that again, very conservative. Like these random hookups are not fulfilling. It's painful. This is not going to better your life. Shoshana finally finds Shoshana finally finds happiness in getting engaged. One of my criticisms of this show is that they rushed the Shoshana plot line. I like Shosh. I think she was an underused character. She does go to Japan at one point, and she has like her own episode there. But she's kind of like the younger one. She's the youngest of them all. Like when the show starts, she's actually still in college at NYU. She's talks like 5 times faster than I talk. She is kind of that like she's doesn't know what she's going to do with her life, right? She's coming out of college in the early 2010s. And she takes jobs here, and she has a boyfriend for a little. She dates Ray. She goes to Japan. They basically let her go. She comes back. She sees Ray falling for her old boss, and then next time you see her, she's getting engaged. You've never met her fiance, anything like that. But she tells them, again, I'm totally ruining the show, so if anyone wants to watch it, don't listen to this. But she tells the 3 other girls, like, we haven't been friends for a while. We're not like, I'm looking towards my future. Basically my happiness is with my fiance and these other people who have, like, she wants to be people of drive. Like she wants to be kind of what we joke about, like the, you can have it all, the girl boss, but she wants that. Like, but she finds happiness with her fiance, not randomly hooking up with people, not, getting into these hijinks or whatever. Like she wants a job and stability both in her social life and her career. And I'd say it's pretty conservative in the 2010s. We're not, when I'm talking, like, that's why I say trad wasn't really the right term, but like conservative for the 2010s, I would say that's up there. Also, Marnie seeks stability by choosing to go to law school. You might say, well, okay, she's going to law school to be a social justice warrior and work for the ACLU or whatever. It's like, no, none of that. Like she goes to law school basically because she doesn't know, she wants a job. And her Hannah's mom tells her that one of her good friends is a judge, and she goes on a bunch of Christian mingle dates. Looks like a good way to live your life. And Marnie's like, I've always thought about going to law school. She's not like, I'm going to go fight the systematic injustices. Right. She's like, I did. Like, well, I went to law school. She was just going to create some stability in her life. So it's fairly conservative for the time. It's probably a stretch, but still. The last 3, are
Jumper. Hey,
what's he doing?
Jumper. He's just like licking himself, and I just hear this. It's really distracting.
I couldn't hear it, so that
No.
means no. It's probably so. You just deal with that.
Okay.
Let Chomper live his best life. The final moment of the so actually I'm gonna skip that one. I'll come back to that because I thought a couple others and I added them. So 6. Although they ultimately decide against it, Adam begs Hannah to allow him to raise the baby with her, citing the benefits of a 2-parent household. So at this point in the show, Adam and Hannah are not together. They were together, on and off for a while. Adam was with Jessa for a while. He basically leaves Jessa to be with Hannah solely because, he's always kind of in love with her, but really he begs her to let him raise a child who's not his because of the benefits of a 2-parent household.
Yeah,
like I'd say it's very conservative for the 2010s. Like him giving up his
Somebody's
freedom.
been listening to Ben Shapiro.
That's right, exactly. And also, here's another one: Dill, a gay and successful news anchor who Elijah dates. He's basically supposed to represent, I think, like a what's his name, Anderson Cooper type.
Right.
Like they don't look alike or anything, but like very successful, like runs in very high, like elite circles, and is on a like a CNN reporter type thing.
Yeah.
So he dates Elijah at one point. He's like, Dill, a gay and successful news anchor, also cites the importance of a male influence on a child. There's actually a very funny scene where Hannah's like, well, is it a mom's role important? He's like, yeah, for about 6 months, but really it's a father. It's really the father because like his father walked out or something.
Yeah.
And I thought, again, you have like a gay character here saying, in the 2010s, how important it is to have a 2-parent household, and how he actually has a scandal, which is very, very funny in the show, where he gets, I guess caught is the right word, but he gets pilloried for he wants to adopt, but he only wants a white baby. It's like, so he's like evading the press and everything.
Yeah.
So he's like kind of hiding out in their, small Brooklyn apartment. But I thought that was very funny. And then lastly, the final moment of the show, and this is really what made me think of this, analysis. The final moment of the entire show is Hannah's baby, who she has had trouble with for like the past episode or two, like the last 2 episodes of the show. She has had trouble with this. The baby finally latches onto her breast to breastfeed. And that's literally like he latches onto her. I don't know if that's even the right term. I'm not a parent right now. He latches onto her and like a tear comes to her eye and the show ends.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a very conservative ending
Right.
for a show about like, what I think a lot of people assume was like a girl boss show. I can't hear him, by the way. So he's good.
I muted myself. So I just,
okay.
while I yelled at him.
I see the Twitter just retweeted that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why I think that Girls is actually a very conservative show.
So did you think that at the time, or was that when you were revisiting it where you're like, oh, like this is not as...
So at the time of what?
When you watched it the first time?
Oh, no, definitely not.
So I wanted to bring this up with you because I think it's actually related to this. So you probably saw this video that went viral. This is like 2007 or something. It was like the don't tase me, bro.
Don't tase me, bro.
Do you remember that? So it was John Kerry. He was giving a talk at some college, and then some college student starts grilling him. So they had a Q&A, so they give him the mic, and then he starts grilling him on questions. At the time, I didn't pay attention to the questions. I just thought that the guy seemed really obnoxious. And then he gets tackled by security, and they're like arresting him, and he's struggling the whole time. And then he goes, "Don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me, bro!" And so when I first saw it, I was like 19 or something. I thought it was the funniest thing. Like we all thought, "Oh, look at this stupid bro, this college bro getting tased." But I watched it recently. I don't know why I just stumbled upon it recently. Within a week ago, and I watched it. And like my perspective on it completely changed. It went from look at that stupid college kid to
like what the fuck, like
it's like he's being a little annoying, but he's not being disruptive. He's not being violent. And this like I said, this is early 2000s, I think. So this is like
is this if I just typed in "don't taste me, bro," like it would come up?
It'll pop up.
All right, I'll watch it after.
And
because I don't remember this. What John Kerry? What was John Kerry in 2007? He was in the. What was
or maybe it's 2011 or something.
Okay. But he was in like the Obama cabinet then, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. He wasn't running for president.
And so the college student is asking him, he's grilling him basically about like his membership in the Skull and Bones, the secret society at Yale. Because he was, I guess he was in the same class with George W. Bush, and so basically kind of like, hey, so how come you were in the same class with these other warmongers and stuff like that? And then, but he's got the mic, but he's not being disruptive. But then security comes and tackles him, and it's like, holy shit! Like, how come they came right when he's asking these questions about his past? And like, it's funny. I was looking at the comments, and everybody had the exact same reaction I did. I thought this was funny 12 years ago, but how come they're tackling him right when he's asking these questions? That's really suspicious. So it's like,
yeah, I mean, your views definitely change. I mean, with this, I guess I don't know. I don't remember what my reaction was when I first saw the show. Again, I didn't even really remember how it ended. Like, I remember her moving to like up at the Hudson Valley to work at a small college. That was like a big deal because I was like, oh, she's leaving the city. I remember Marnie wanted to go to law school because I was in law school, I think, when I watched this. So I remember that being like, don't do it. And I don't remember any of these. Like I actually forgot how much Adam Driver's in the show. I thought he was only in the show for a couple seasons. He's in it the entire time.
It's Kylo Ren, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic actor. But no, I don't remember thinking that at all, really. I do remember being like, oh, you're not supposed to, like, the show is satire. Like, you're not supposed to just sympathize with these characters wholeheartedly, like a lot of shows do. Like, you're supposed to laugh at them. You're supposed to see, like, the ills of their ways. It doesn't mean you're supposed to hate them. Like, I don't think, and I remember thinking like, oh, I'm going to hate watch this show because I find them so annoying. But I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, and I think I liked it more after I realized that. And after I read that, but no, I didn't think politically. I was like, oh, this actually has like a lot of conservative messaging, which definitely was not on purpose. Like I said, this show was pre-Trump, which that broke the brains of so many people. Right. And if it came out today, it would die. Like, she definitely would have an abortion. The last episode would not be her having,
and they'd be making jokes about it too.
Maybe if it was like a trans person breastfed, that would be the last scene of the show, not like not her. Yeah, it would be like not. And even another part in it, Adam, like, there's a scene where I forgot. I think he gets in like 2 arguments about abortion where he's like, that's murder. Like, what are you talking about? You can't just, the father doesn't get a say in that, like stuff like that. I don't know. I it's a very good show. Like, I really, really like it. Yeah. And I recommend it to people. I know I just told you all of like the main points, but even still, I don't give it a little. I forgot a lot of what happened. It's still very enjoyable.
Cool, man. Well,
so that was my girls rant.
Yeah. So when did we do a review of Boys? When did we talk about Boys on the show?
Yeah. Let's talk about The Boys. That show was pretty good, but I'm not watching that.
I heard it's good. I don't want to watch it though, because I read the comic book and
so. I started Band of Brothers. Those were boys.
Okay, all right, that's boys enough. Yeah.
No, this guys being dudes.
Just killing,
just invading France
in the past and shit.
Yeah, whatever. This guys being dudes.
I love those memes of like where it's like it's like girls with a time machine, and it's like she goes back just to meet her grandmother, and then like boys with a time machine. It's like, I will fight by your side.
Yeah, it's
Napoleon.
Like, or just like yeah, exactly. You like join the Foreign Legion in Algeria.
This is what a machine gun is, and then just like you're like some war in 1300. Like
100%. There's I'd go back to like the Crusades. Like they're like Crusade memes are so funny. There's one today I shared. It was like, I guess it was a map of maybe like most popular fast food. I don't know. It's like the whole Midwest and like Southwest was Chick-fil-A, and like New Mexico was one something else, and it was like like the holy armies of Chick-fil-A against like the Emirate of New Mexico. It's just a picture of like the Crusader armies and Kingdom of Heaven, like moving the cross and like just like marching through the desert.
Yeah. There's that meme format where it's like It's like the top panel is like a girl talk like
Yeah,
texting on her phone.
yeah.
Talking to the guy. But there's one on the top one. It says like she's on her phone, and then like the speech bubble says like, "Hey, you better not be participating in the Crusades right now." And then the bottom it's like a 13th century or 14th century painting of like a guy with like a sword. It's like my crusading ass.
Yeah, there's another one we shared. It's the same thing. Like you better not be participating in the Battle of Agincourt. It's like my siege ass. All right, let's just do a verbal meme segment. Another one of my favorites is like in school, girls. It's like the teacher. Okay, everyone make groups of 4. It's like a girl with a group of 5. Sorry, Becky, like you can't join with us. Boys with a group of 5. Make a 5 where we take Jerusalem. It's like a bunch of crusaders with like crosses and swords. And then another one of my favorites is this will be a new segment, verbal meme segment. Yeah. It's like girlfriend group chats. It's like the girls, like emoji face, like winky face. It's like boy group chats. It's like brothers united against NATO, guided by Allah. Like...
Oh man, yeah. Okay, right. Well that's a new segment.
Yeah, verbal meme segment.
So speaking of conservatism and girls, there's one conservative girl.
Nice. Yeah, Nikki Haley.
Dude, that was smooth as butter. That segue there.
That was smooth. As smooth as a South Carolina peach.
Yeah. So Nikki Haley, she is running for president. So what was her previous position? I know she was in Trump's cabinet for a bit, and then she
was she? I don't know if she was in Trump's. She was the governor of South Carolina.
She was an ambassador.
Oh, she's the ambassador. Yeah, she's ambassador to the UN, which I actually Googled today. What does the UN do?
Yeah.
And I worked not for the UN, but I worked in the UN for an internship. I was there probably a couple times a week. I don't know what they do. And people who I worked with are like, they don't really have any power. I call it the largest mutual admiration society on the planet because it kind of it's like, I guess it's kind of make you feel bad about stuff, but it's like who still invaded Ukraine? Like, I don't know. They're still fucking attacking each other in the Middle East. Like,
I know.
What does it do? They make a lot of resolutions and plans.
They tweet a lot.
I'm not saying it's necessarily a bet. Like, if I was president, I don't know, I couldn't dissolve NATO, but I would leave NATO. Like, I'm not saying the UN should not exist, but I don't know why they don't do all that much.
Was it in Team America where they had like a representative from the from the UN visiting the Korean guy? And
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever seen Team America.
Oh, you would love it.
Kind of surprising. I think I've seen enough in culture to know, like,
to catch a lot of the references.
Yeah, like I know, like he's going east on Bakalakadaka Street, like shit like that. Or I know, obviously, like America, fuck yeah. But like, I don't think I've actually watched at least start to finish Team America.
The main villain of that one was Kim Jong.
Kim Jong.
I think
Kim Jong Il. Yeah.
And so there's a scene in the movie where it was a representative from the UN was going was visiting North Korea, and he was like, so if you could just show me where, we just want to make sure that there are no weapons of mass destruction here. He goes, he's like, Hans, come on, I don't have any WMDs here. I keep telling you. He goes, well, I believe you, but I just want to check.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, what if I don't? Because then the UN will be forced to send you a strongly worded letter.
Yeah. I think the UN. NATO bombed Gaddafi.
Oh,
right.
I think so.
NATO, that was one of the first, because I think the first time NATO ever used military action was Kosovo, Bosnia.
Oh.
But was that the UN? Like, I forget. Like, UN peacekeepers, a lot of times, like, they're fucking rapists and shit. Like a lot of stuff's come out. I go, okay, broad strokes, whatever. Like a handful of rapists, but like sometimes they cause more issues than not. And I don't know. I'm a nationalist. I think UN is a bunch of globalist bullshit. But I guess NATO bombed Gaddafi. So maybe that's nothing to do with what we're doing, which totally destroyed all of our credibility in that region about people giving up WMDs ever again. Because if you recall, I'm going on a tangent here. If you recall, we said, Gaddafi, get rid of your nukes, your nuclear program, and we'll be cool. And he did, and then we killed him, or helped kill him.
Yeah, well, that seems like the right thing to do.
Right. Because he wanted to make like a united African currency and all that shit. I'm not going to go down a Gaddafi war. He was a bad dude, disavow, but we didn't do ourselves any favor there on the national stage. So Nikki Haley so if she was president, we definitely would have been at war with Gaddafi, just like everyone else on the planet, because she is one of these neocon psychopaths. And I said last episode, neocons are back, baby. I maybe that's a little heavy-handed, a little dramatic, because they're not going to, like, Trump is still going to win the presidency, or win probably the presidency. He's going to win the nomination, but like the neocon talking points are back because of which is like, I thought we were done with this shit. I really thought the Republicans were taking a turn. Some are, many are not. And she is one of the old school neocons who why we're bringing her up now is not about war, but about anonymity on the internet.
Yes.
And how she doesn't want that to happen. Well, she walked it back, but she said it out loud. And if there wasn't, she walked it back, so there's backlash. But she basically said, I
have the exact quote here.
Yeah, pull it up. I have the AP up, but go ahead.
Every person on social media should be verified by their name. It's a national security threat. When you do that, all of a sudden people have to stand by what they say, and it gets rid of the Russian bots, the Iranian bots, and the Chinese bots.
Yeah. So here's some advice from Uncle Ben over here. Whenever they just drop national security threat into like red flag, like take a note of it, because that term has been used for, like, I want to make a list, just a scroll of all the things that are national security threats from both sides.
Yeah.
And like when they start saying shit like that, it's like, that's just a way to get a batch of people in this country to go, oh, okay, well, if it's national security threat, if it's national security threat, we got to wear masks. National security threat, you can't go to school. National security that you can't be anonymous on the internet, So, yeah, that's a psychotic thing to say. Yeah. Very anti-free speech, and not like I thought. Like I said, I thought the Republicans were the party of free speech. I still think overall they're better than the Democrats now, which is wild. But the
Republicans, they're trying. They're trying.
Yeah, it's a race to the bottom here. Yeah. So, I mean, I thought right away, and I'm not just saying this because I went and watched a Glenn Greenwald video before this episode. Like, I really did. I was like, wait a minute, like the Federalist Papers were written anonymously. Right. And I actually thought of the wrong name. So that was under Publius. I was thinking the Anti-Federalist Papers were written under Brutus, I believe. I have to check that. I might be wrong by that, so don't quote me. But like Publius was the pen name for, a mixture of Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, James Madison, maybe someone else who I'm blanking on. And these are like some of the most important documents in our nation's history. Right. Really, like Federalist Paper number 1, Federalist Paper number 10, I think 50 or 51, like one of those, and a bunch of others are so important to this country. It's like, yeah, and these guys who wrote this stuff, I mean, these were some of the most powerful people in the country. So these guys, James Madison was a future president. Yeah. I forget if James Monroe was also one of the, I can't remember. And they did this anonymously. Part of that, I think, is when you do it anonymously, one, people are more now than ever, it seems, that it's like, okay, who wrote this? Who published this? Was it Fox? Was it Fox News? Was it Breitbart? Was it MSNBC? Was it CNN? Right. Like, okay, well, then immediately I'm on the other side.
Exactly.
So when you do stuff like, and that's kind of, or what writer said this? Oh, well, that person's a nutcase. Oh, that person's just a lib. Oh, that person's, just a fascist. Like, right. So that's good about publishing it anonymously. It is solely about the substance of the article, of the video, of whatever it is. Also, just like protecting people. Like, yeah, there are dickheads who are online who say anonymous shit. I have a burner account on Twitter. I don't use as much anymore, but like it's for satire. Yeah. Like it's like, so like satire is going to be dead. If anything you do has your name attached to it, in this world where it's so easy to send stuff to someone's like employer or to a a spouse or to something, like you're just trying to ruin people's lives over shit that's said online. Yeah, I understand. Like she's right about there would be more civility.
Sure.
If everyone had to be verified, have their name on what you're saying, but we don't go to Twitter for civility.
I know, yeah.
That's what it's about.
Ben and I would still be dicks. We'd still be assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To an extent, like, I don't know. I don't attack people. I don't harass people. I usually I just respond to people who say something to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do stand by everything I say. If I retweet something or I say something, it might be off-putting to some people, but like if you broke it down, if you want to talk to me about it, like I'm not ashamed of any of that. And it would be it would really it would be to say that it's an authoritarian impulse of her to want to control. When you have someone who's literally running for her goal, and she says this, if of course they always say when I win, when I am the most powerful person arguably on the planet, I want to know who's saying shit about me. Like that's not a good impulse to have.
Right.
Like that's not something that we as the people who vote for this person should want. And again, what happens a lot of times with politicians is they either put out feelers and see what the backlash is.
Yes.
We saw this a lot during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Or they say the quiet part out loud. They don't realize actually what they're saying, and then they have to backtrack because it's like, oh shit, like I didn't like Biden does it all the time because he doesn't know what he's saying, and then people have to correct him, even though he's saying the truth out loud. He's the most powerful person on the planet.
Yeah.
So, she should be crossed off your list of vote. This shouldn't be that is a very dangerous impulse.
Yes.
For someone who's running to be a president of the country.
Yeah, anonymity is very important for freedom of speech and also freedom of creative expression as well. Like if we didn't have anonymity, we wouldn't have Alan Smithy. Do you know about Alan Smithy?
No.
Alan Smithy is the pseudonym that directors use for when.
Oh yeah.
for when like a studio takes over and like recuts the film against goes
it's like
against
a protest. It's like a protest thing, right?
Kind of, but like it's sort of like, well, this isn't the movie that I intended to make. The studio ended up chopping it up, so fine. Like I take my name off and put Alan Smithy instead.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. That's like multiple directors have done that.
Yeah, they've been doing it since 1968. But yeah, no, it's a little tangent, but so Jordan Peterson has brought this up, and he clarified his stance on this some more.
What was his stance?
So initially he was saying that Twitter should require people to put their real names and pictures or whatever, and then later on he gave a more nuanced take, which I'm still not in favor of, but at least I'm like, okay, at least you kind of refined it some more. But what he was saying was like, maybe there should be kind of like two Twitters. Where it's like one is the verified where if you do want to sign up, you do have to put your actual real name, but if you want to be anonymous, then there's like the sort of Wild West version of Twitter.
I think the middle ground, which is I find it really annoying when it feels like 8 times a week I have to do the little tests on Twitter. It's like, how many rocks are here, and you have to go and okay, there's 3 rocks, or move the horse in the direction of the arrow. But like, I understand the need to not have bots like that. Of course. I get that. And that's, who would argue against that?
Yeah.
So that's fine. And if you want to be verified, like you should prove that you're not a bot. But like, I'm going to look at my Twitter followers, like my Twitter, who I follow, like there's some really important anonymous accounts that aren't like trolls. Like, it's not like they're just like fucking with people. It's like Unusual Whales is the first one that comes to mind. He's publishing really important economic, like stock market stuff and things about like politicians making trades, like the Nancy Pelosi, like following her index, and just like really important, things that Congress does. And I'm assuming it's a he, but I'm just gonna say he because I assume so. He's anonymous. Let me. I'm kind of trying to do too many things at once here.
And there are protections for whistleblowers for a reason.
Yes, that too.
So there's
I know, like off the top of my head, there's like Georgia Log Cabin is one. He's like a very right wing one. Let's see. I know this isn't the best. This isn't the best radio, but anyway, Unusual Whales is the first one that comes to mind. Like if that person had to disclose who they are, like I guarantee you that he would be harassed by the IRS, or by other, however, whatever politicians want Muslim, because he's making a lot of enemies doing this on both sides of the aisle. Like it's not like a lot of times if one side finds you sympathetic, they'll help you out. Like no, he's making a lot of enemies on both sides.
I mean, remember when Matt Taibbi got audited like a day after the Twitter files or something, or he testified or something?
I think Asian Dawn is one I follow that shows like Asians getting attacked, and his whole, again, assuming it's a him, could be a she. His whole thing is like the whole stop AAPI hate. It's like, no, it's not coming from white people. But like when that does happen, he does share it, but like overwhelmingly. It's non-white people attacking Asians in San Francisco and in New York and in LA and where else it's happening. He's anonymous. If he wasn't, he might get physically attacked. He might get stalked. I don't know. I'm just kind of scrolling around here. But anyway, so I think there was so much pushback, even from, to their credit, the Republicans pushed back so much that she had to walk it back again. That might be self-serving because these are people like Ron DeSantis running against her. Oh, another one, but who did get doxxed, Libs of TikTok. Now she's one of the one that was a she. She's one of the ones who is very sympathetic to, let's say, one side, if we're only going to talk about this bilaterally. But she was on for a very long time. Eventually they found out who she was. She was doxxed. She was harassed by what's her face. Who's the reporter for WAPO, the really annoying one.
Is it Taylor
Lorenz? Yeah, Taylor Lorenz. Or I don't know if it's WAPO or New York Times or whatever it is. And that was one that exposed a lot of psychos out there. A lot of people who were doing, like, that opened up a lot of people's eyes. Like, wait a minute, what's going? Like, what is my third grader learning? Are you out of your mind? And that ended up on like Fox News to an audience that isn't on Twitter. Now she's very open to, and that's good. That worked out for her because, again, she has a whole side who really supports her.
What's funny is that she actually looks a little bit like Taylor Lorenz, so it's like they're almost like kind of like weird mirror images of each other, but like very progressive and very conservative.
Isn't a guest on the show, Entroperian? He's anonymous. I still don't know who he is. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't.
No, and he's one of our followers. He's been a guest on the show. He's a heavy metal guy. For political reasons, he wants to remain anonymous, but right there. So anyway, I think that I've gone through there, enough here.
Well, Nikki Haley, she kind of walked it back a bit.
Unusual Whales,
she said, I don't mind anonymous American people having free speech. What I don't like is anonymous Russians and Chinese and Iranians having free speech.
Check the boxes. Oh, well, okay. Well, in that case, it's okay. How are you going to know that's what they are? Like, you wouldn't.
And I do like this little bit of editorialization here in PBS. Haley said, not explaining how she would recommend that social media companies parse those users. So, of course, there's no plan involved with this. This is purely damage control.
I think the thing that I am okay with is she talks about the algorithm, like they have to show their algorithm. After that documentary came out that basically showed how like algorithms run our mental health and are so detrimental to it. Like, am I missing something? Like, is that not that bad? I understand there would be tons of lawsuits like, oh, it's intellectual property. Like I that aside, right? I understand that. I can even be sympathetic to that. So then they can copy it or whatever, and fine. But that aside, if these are going to be utilities, if that's how we want to look at them, I'm not saying you should. I don't know exactly where I land on that. But just as a good, like her thing about anonymity is a net negative. Like, that's not good for anyone. I mean, okay, it might be good for some people who are like getting harassed, and it's okay, fine. Also, another thing, an aside is, you can block people. Like you can block people. You can go private. You can decide who can respond to you, right? Trust me, there are lots of times I want to tweet at someone and respond to something. It's like, oh, you can't respond to it because they don't follow you. There are all these ways to not deal with this crap or to really mitigate it. So this just isn't the answer. So the algorithm thing, is that bad? Like, is that not?
That's such a thorny issue. I remember a few years back, this is, I was still working in the Silicon Valley tech scene for a bit, and it was like I think the government was trying to force Facebook or Twitter to give up information, or was it a cell phone company? But I remember there's this big debate in the tech world of like, well, a tech company shouldn't have to give up.
It was Apple.
I think it was Apple.
They wanted to get into a phone, like break into a phone.
Yeah, the FBI wanted access to a phone, I think. I don't remember exactly what the incident was that sparked, but I do remember there's a big debate in the tech world of like, it's proprietary information that they shouldn't have to give up. But on the other hand, it would have helped in an investigation. But I also don't know. I don't remember what the investigation was though.
Yeah, it was like a terrorist thing.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Apple said no.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is more. That was a very. I mean, obviously, like any case, it can open the floodgates, right? Like I understand that. I'm a lawyer, but this is more of like society, like if these algorithms, for instance, the whole Bin Laden thing, which we could probably, I don't know if we need to talk about it, but it's so crazy. But like, I don't know if there's evidence of because TikTok's a Chinese company, they want to sow dissent. So is Russia in our country. How well they can do that is a different question. Like I'm not saying that. I think they're actually not very effective, but like, are they promoting? Like it's true. Like Facebook and these platforms, like they like Discord. Like they like it. It gets more engagement when people are arguing and yelling and even threatening than when everyone's just in like, yes, cat videos get a lot of love and people love, feel good stories and stuff. But the bottom line is discontent breeds hate breeds hate. And that keeps people engaged like significantly more.
Right.
And is that something that should be addressed? Like part of me says yes, but I'm not saying the government should decide this stuff. Like, I don't know. Like it actually is worth, like, I would like to hear a debate on this. I don't know if it exists on like experts of this stuff. Like who know this shit?
Right.
I could see arguments for all different sides. I don't know. Like, yeah, it comes back to intellectual property, but like you're messing with people's brain chemistry.
Yeah.
Right. Like this isn't a phone. This isn't a TV. This isn't a car.
Yeah.
This isn't an appliance. They're messing, and not just people, like children. Yeah. Like you're messing with children's brain chemistry. I don't know if I really buy the libertarian arguments on this one.
Right.
I don't know. So that's kind of a separate thing that I didn't know. I wasn't really prepared to talk about, but that to me seemed more reasonable, which maybe could get more support.
Right.
But then she said the other batshit crazy shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think is she like the front runner now who's not named Donald Trump? Like
I'm not sure.
I have to check the polling. I don't really care. Like, these could be like future. Like one of these people might be, besides Pence. I couldn't imagine Pence as a VP again if Trump wins. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I don't care because they're not going to be the nominee. So it's like, well, we can just put this off.
Right.
Like it just seems so fabricated and fanciful. Like, I don't know. So I've like a lot of times in my podcast I listen to that talk about the Republican primary. I skip a lot of it.
Yeah.
So because people say one thing now in November 2023 and in 2025 they're saying something totally different. And
exactly.
Yeah. So I don't really care. But anyway, I do not like. Yeah, Nikki Haley is a kind of a throwback. It we joke about like, oh hey, look, the religious right is back. Like it's like I don't want the neocons to come back.
Yeah.
I like the direction the Republicans were going in for the most part, and I don't want this to come back.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think since Girls is going conservative, And we have like some it's like the gopher head of neoconservatives is kind of popping up here and there. Is that are we getting ready to like? Is it the 1980s all over again? Is it or early 2000s all over again?
I don't know, man. I don't think we'll ever go back to like the early 2000s period.
Right.
I think Trump broke not just people on the left. I think he broke a lot of people on the right too.
Yeah.
I think the right. I mean, there's the whole like arguments about the new right. I think there's a like that populist wing was awoken.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can put it back.
Right.
So that means that the Republicans have to placate that side. Like they can't completely be the party of big business and Wall Street and pay lip service social conservatism. Also, abortion has not worked out for them at all. Like it was much better when it was a carrot. That is totally like that has really screwed them. And even if I don't think it's that big of an issue, I mean, I think it depends where you live. It is such a it gets people out to vote. Like it gets people to the polls, and that's exactly what the Republicans thrived for years on being the party that votes.
Yeah.
Like they vote in these elections. They don't just vote every 4 years. They vote 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah.
Because like in New Jersey, we voted 2020. We had a big election 2021. We're one of the only states that votes for governor and has a big election the year after. It's us in Virginia. Everyone focuses on Virginia, but it's us too. When we had then the midterms 2022, and then we had this was probably the smallest election, and it still made news. So like. And Republicans voted in all those for years, and this got Democrats to vote, especially young women, which is now young women, especially young white liberal women, is like the bread and butter of the Democratic Party. Educated white liberal women, and they awoke the beast with this one. Understandably, I kind of get it. I do kind of get it. Even women who don't live in states that their abortion rights are even under attack. Like it won't matter in New York. It won't matter in New Jersey. But it gets them out to vote. I get it.
Yep. Well, the only thing that we can do as artists is to fight the crits.
We can fight the crits. And you can fight the crits too by signing up for our Patreon.
And checking us out on Medium. On that note, Ben.
On that note, Joseph, Jose, have a great Thanksgiving. You're going to the Bay Area?
Yeah, and where are you going? New Jersey?
I'm actually going to New York.
Oh,
I'm going to the city. Going to live out my girls' fantasy.
Oh,
no, that's in Greenpoint. I don't think I've ever been to Greenpoint. So, oh well.
Cool, brother. Well, take it easy, everybody.
Yeah, fight the crits. Stay reckless.